Now on this question here, there's a couple of approaches, as there usually is for most questions. Let's start with the way that I think is most straightforward, which is really just doing it by hand. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 points that I think are pretty clearly defined. In other words, they appear to be on a corner of a box, like this -2, 0. I wouldn't choose the y-intercept because notice it looks like it's at 0, 1 point something, and I don't want to use a decimal because I could be approximating it incorrectly and that would impact my answer. So I'll use as my other point 1, 2. So now that I have those 2 ordered pairs, I'm going to determine my slope, which is rise over run. And I want to pay close attention to what both the y-axis and x-axis are counting by, because they could choose to count by 1 increment, by 1 interval on the x-axis, and a different interval on the y-axis. That's actually within their rights. That's totally acceptable with graphing. Now notice if I do my rise over run starting at this point here, I rise 2, and they're counting by 1s on the y, and that's a +2. And then I run 1, 2, 3, so a +3 because I'm going to the right. Now, if instead I had chosen to start at this higher point and work my way to the lower point, my rise would have been negative because I would go down 2, and my run would be negative because I'd go 3 to the left. 2 negatives still make a positive, so I get the same thing. To me, that's the easiest way to type in your answer, 2/3, as a fraction. However, you could do the decimal equivalent. I don't see why you would. I think that's more work and more room for error in how you're going to type it in. If you choose to type it in the calculator, you could. And then when you actually type it in, you could put 0.666. For those of you who are religious, I'm sorry, I know I'm not a fan of that number myself. So, but it is an acceptable answer. But that would be 5 characters, so that's acceptable. You could also do 0.667. The difference in the two is this one is called truncating, basically cutting off the trunk like a tree, just lopping off the remaining digits, the infinitely remaining digits. Or you could round, which is what this one is, rounding the last digit to a 7. So both of those scenarios, I have 5 characters, 0 and the decimal counting as 2 right there, and then the 3 digits there. I could also do point, so that that's just 1 character, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, so 4 digits. Same thing, I could go like this. And so you're getting the idea why I'm not a fan of doing that, because there's so many options that I feel like I don't want to mess that up. I have a feeling that if you just put 0.66, I believe you would get it wrong, because I think if it's a repeating decimal, you have to put all the characters that do apply. I could be mistaken on that, but like I said, the safest bet is 2/3 as a fraction. Now, you might be thinking, well, what's the other way you could do it? So you could use slope int, our program. I just think that this is a straightforward enough problem that I don't think it's necessary. Sometimes using programs can complicate things. Now, granted, I don't think it would have taken more time necessarily, so it might be worth it, especially if the X or Y axis isn't counting by 1s, or maybe they're counting by different values. Then it could be easy to make a mistake, and you might want to just be really safe by just typing it in there. And, you know, now that I see it, I mean, that was pretty quick, right? So the slope is 2/3 either way.